Welcome to tonight's paranormal debate at the John O'Gorman Public House, Newcastle under Lyme, where we are joined by stokehaunted and the seekers. Enjoy the webcast version. Right, has anybody got a topic they'd like to cover? I've got a very... You got one, Nick? Nick, you got one?
Yeah. Okay. There was a radio show in America called Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, and he had a guy on named Joshua P. Warren. We talk about sharing. He's an idea we've not tried. In the paranormal field, we all talk about manipulation.
Yep.
Any evidence we talk of is manipulation of something, light, heat, EM, whatever, radiation, using a Gaussian, whatever. Now, when we try to explain away certain things, and we talk about fear cage, we talk about all these different scenarios that we can explain away, or we try to think that we can explain away. Now, when you get feedback loops from sound, echo chambers, but you can also get the same with light.
Yeah.
Okay, they call it the Hall of Mirror effect, where you got a mirror there, mirror there, mirror. You know, you get people that experience things when they stood in these, bounce back light things. Nick was telling me, Nick says.
Blame Nick.
This is, I'll share this with you guys. We've not tried this, but it's something worth trying that was mentioned by that guy that we mentioned on the show. You can create a stupid name, Devil's Toy Box. Alright? If you get mirrors, little 10 centimetre square mirrors, and make a cube with all those mirrors facing inwards and seal them.
Isn't this going a bit Hellraiser? Correct.
Very Hellraiser. Yes.
So it's already been done on like Outback Paranormal, I think they call them. They exploded it at the end.
Made on. Like I say, that dude he was talking about, what he was doing was putting a digital voice recorder on the box and leaving it. I actually want to evolve it, and you actually, rather than using mirrors, I mean, 2 mirrors. So light can get in but can't get out. Whereas with mirrors, light's stuck internally, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
The only thing is,
the light if rather than internal.
the only thing is, don't put your dictaphone on top of the box.
Because of.
The aluminium in the back of the mirrors
Okay.
will affect the recordings. It's like sticking a magnet by your speakers.
Could you adapt it though so that it's either suspended or stuck?
You don't really need, if you're doing an EMF recording, you don't need it anywhere near where you're doing the recording, to be perfectly honest.
We're sharing ideas, aren't we?
Because the spirit is talking to the spirit's talking to the recorder, so it doesn't matter if the recorder's over there and you're doing a Ouija board session or whatever over here.
Well,
The spirit, you want the spirit to speak to the actual dictaphone, whatever you use.
Work with that? Could you pair up the gateway and the mirrors?
Well, that's copper. That's induction.
Yeah, I'm on about if you essentially making a core unit of energy rather than just light core, and you've got that energy and then you've got that, and kind of make a.
I still think we tried it once, but we haven't continued to try. I don't know what the other guys think, but I think everybody says there's no proof spirits are made of energy. Plasma ball is going to attract energy. That's how they work. Whack a couple of plasma balls in a room. Better than any EMF pump.
That's something. Can toy with it though, can't
It's like a magnet for it.
Do you know when
isn't
you
it?
get onto EMF pumps? Okay, I'll give you a bit of my background now. I'm an electrical engineer. I work for GE. big differences when you come to EM now. EM field covers a massive wavelength of spectrum.
Yeah, it just means electromagnetic.
Yeah, but across that spectrum of wave, you've got electro-induction, you've got magnetic induction, you've got light, you've got gamma, you've got radio, you've got all sorts of across
Yeah,
the spectrum.
yeah.
Now, okay, when you're talking about
They all
difference
refer
between-
to resonance, don't yeah.
difference between resonance now. Resonance
Okay.
is an application of a specific point in wavelength. Now, when you're making an EM pump, you mentioned this to me again. It's always EM. EM pumps now, not tried the second way. I think the second way is dangerous, but the most common way that most people make an EM pump is to rotate a magnet.
Yeah, you use an electromagnet to do...
No. That's
Well,
the difference.
a motor relies on an electromagnet.
No, you're not. Because if you
Well, like a
pass a
standard
magnet
DC motor
through... okay, if you pass a magnet through an electron... Well, go.
No, go on. No.
Yeah. This is where they tried to... There was an old experiment pre-Einstein where they were trying to distinguish a thing called the luminescence ether.
Okay.
Where they were trying to tell the difference between whether light was a constant or not. And I'm
Yeah,
diverting
yeah.
by saying that. But what they were actually saying was there's a difference between magnetism
Mhm.
and electricity. However, they're all a variation of the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, with
It's
an
like the transportation of a
electromagnet,
different type of
you know,
energy.
my company's built the largest electromagnet in the world because you can artificially generate an electromagnet. It's in Leicester Road in Rugby. Now, all you're doing there is you're passing electricity in and creating a magnetic field.
Mhm.
But alternatively, you can induce magnetism in and create an electric field. Now, when you're rotating the magnet, it's a magnetic field,
Mhm.
which seems to be the most popular field that we're all doing it, using a rotating magnetic field, with magnetic AC.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're creating electricity via the electromagnetic EM pump, the distance is massive, but it's also dangerous.
Yeah, because you get
Now-
arcs. Isn't that like the Tesla coil?
Exactly. Yeah, well, the thing about the Tesla is it's tuned,
Yeah.
but yes, you are doing exactly that. But there is a real danger in this. I've looked into this, and Nick was the one that kept feeding me with all the bullshit.
Bullying you.
But
He's
it's-
sitting there, he hasn't opened his mouth once.
He's terrible.
He's doing it for you.
I think Rich will say something.
There is a danger in that, though, because it is a genuine health hazard.
Well, of course. Yeah.
When electric-wise, so if it's an electromagnet, so you're pumping electricity in to create the magnetism,
Yeah.
your field is a lot larger.
Yeah, you're just expanding the field with magnets, aren't you? That's what we do.
Yeah, but you can do it the other way round. Just using the same power, but magnetism in to create electricity, and it's not the same field. Even though the two are supposed to be interrelational, it's dead weird. That's a real weird one.
Can I ask you? I don't know if anybody made it. You're saying electricity, magnetics, whatever it was you just said.
Yeah?
Is that the same as how an electric furnace works?
Sorry?
You know an electric furnace that you melt metal in? That works on the same principle as what you said. Is you form an electric current to heat up, to melt the metal in a furnace. Because I used to operate one. And it does...
Whenever you're creating heat with electricity, you're creating...
It automatically magnetises things, because what I used to notice is when you drop the metal in and you've got any iron filings, the iron filings would automatically stick themselves to the side of the pot. So I'm on the right wavelength is what you're on about. That is how it works. You just turn it up and it gives you the different voltage of electricity for how high you want. It hums, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like an electric motor, it hums. There's no magnet there, like you get on the back of your speaker. It's just electricity. You just switch it on, turn it up, and
I think I'm
It's almost
remembering
any-
now what you're referring to is the difference between electromagnetic and electromotive. Am I right there?
You've
Just
got
trying to
magnetism and you've got electricity.
Yeah.
The two are
Yeah,
interrelational. but
in
you
circuits
get-
you'll have what's called electromotive forces, and you'll have
So,
electromagnetic
like say,
forces.
rotating a magnet.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Rotating a magnet creates EMF, which
Yeah.
is detectable.
Yeah,
So you've got a K2 meter, and you rotate a magnet,
it goes nuts.
you will pick that up.
Yeah,
Whereas if you get an electromagnet and pass AC into it, you will get exactly the same effect, but on a greater field,
Greater-
massive,
greater, yeah.
but dangerous though as well.
Yeah.
yeah, because there's so much power there. It was
That's
raw
it.
power, yeah.
Well, power is actually the same, but in the other method, it's converted
Because I
into
never
magnetism as opposed to-
understood how electric furnace worked. And then one night, the bloke opened it up, and there's no magnets in there. And I said, well, why has he told them why does everything stick to it? And he says it's just electricity. And there was like
Yeah,
bucket loads of stuff. And then he explained it, and then I understood a bit you said about the electricity could magnetise stuff. So you don't physically need a magnet to magnetise stuff, you can use it with electricity.
what I'm curious about is how would spirits use it?
Well, like we were saying earlier, we all talk about we're getting the gadgets out that are measuring something. But whenever we're talking about a ghost, a monster, or whatever's appeared, it's manipulated something.
Yeah,
So
something's
if
happened.
there's been a manipulation of light, sound, heat, magnetism, whatever,
You need to find out physically what's causing it.
exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
All we ever seen is the effects, rather
Yeah.
than what's causing that.
This is. I always suggested that we get, if for argument's sake, if we're doing a divination experiment, we've got K2 on the table. Sometimes the K2 will go a bit nuts when you're communicating with building energy, whatever.
Classic ones with you.
Yeah, but we noticed that when we determine it as spirit activity, you get this on your K2. It will pulse. You won't get a constant reading. It won't be completely constant. Light up to orange, stay there, and then go back down. You get like a 2, 3, 4, 4, and then it's more of a pulse. So there's a definite what we call. It looks on the K2 exponential because it goes and then goes back. What I'm curious about is why. Why is there a pulse there? It's behaving a bit like a cellular system would next to it. You're getting that pulse. There's this. We're told as mediums when we're training in a spiritual sense that spirit operates on a much higher frequency than we are. Now, I don't know how you want to interpret that, but what I'd like to say is that from my experience, if a spirit tells me something in terms of mediumship, right, and I'll go, okay, fair enough, it's saying this, right, but I'm not understanding why, they'll say the same thing again, but louder.
At my church, me and him again,
It's like Laurel
we
and
got
Hardy.
this pack name for being a bit of us. I promise you now, we believe. I'll say it from the all of you, I believe. However, we've got this tag of being a skeptic.
There's nothing wrong. Question everything. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying.
always question everything. Now, it's dead hard. But like, for example, what you were talking about is a thing called pulse width modulation. Now, when you're talking about digital, analog signal would have gone a gradiated, so,
Yeah, whereas a
Right.
digital will give you a flat. You won't get a sine wave. You'll get a complete flat.
No, you can create a sine wave using digital by creating a thing called pulse
I
width
mean,
modulation.
at its core,
Yeah. Because
digital
what-
signals are
on and off.
pulse, flat,
Yeah,
pulse,
the,
flat.
what,
Yeah?
the way that they create an artificial sine wave, just go off, on,
Yeah.
off. And
Yeah.
they're doing exactly the thing. you're
But
talking
what I'm trying to understand is, like, spirits seem to, behaviour-wise, when you look at what happens in your EM readings, do a similar thing.
Yeah.
You'll get pulse, pulse, pulse. That's what your K2 looks like on a larger scale. What I recommend is we put a digital EMF meter next to it, so you can actually measure the readings of what's going on. So if you look at the difference between the readings, there might be something there. Of what's, and then look at all your other factors like temperature. Is there any increase, decrease? When I'm communicating with spirit, parts of me always go really cold. My feet in particular, yeah, my feet are cold again. Temperature means feet are cold again. You know, it's kind of like an in-joke. But I think that's what we should look at. But everybody's like mystified by K2 meters and EMF and stuff. I think,
It's on taps.
well, maybe, but I'm curious to know as to why. It's the only real energetic reading that nobody gets, if you know what I mean. Because we know what temperature does, we learned that in primary school. And we know what sound is, and you can record that and whatever. But, sorry.
What, you've got the K2, and then you've just said the other one. What else is there other than them two that give you a similar thing?
And
Because for some reason, I've got in my head like an art monitor.
Yeah.
A thing
That-
like
yes,
an art monitor.
like an
Is there something-
oscilloscope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there something? Is there anything along that lines? Anything? I don't know how it'd work.
Yeah, you go to an electrician shop and they'll give you a catalogue, 10, well, hundreds of different products which do all the same thing.
But
So like you're
slightly
saying
different.
that it breaks the wave length, whatever like. So
Yeah.
Imagine you're flatlined.
Yeah.
And they come close to it, that you can do.
Pulse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see if it moves up.
I think, and I haven't tested this theory because I haven't really measured it, but the difference between those frequencies when it pulses will be the answer to what frequency they're communicating on.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can measure that in the EM field that's being manipulated, but I think it would be nice to know. Because then you can tune some instrument to look at those frequencies. I don't know, maybe record something, see what's going on.
Yeah.
What was that human resonance thing that we
Schumann
researched?
resonance.
Schumann resonance.
Yeah.
What was that?
That's...
Well, okay, yeah, okay.
Is there any
What?
way of converting the reading into sound? And then you
Yes, definitely.
audibly-
Well,
Yes, definitely.
we've played around with audio files, and by changing octaves and speeding up, slowing down, we've
But-
had more hits. But then again, you're listening for hits anyway, so
Well,
you're
yeah,
making
exactly.
it
I mean,
what you
About
want it to be.
specifically what you're getting from this
well,
EMF
you,
reading.
if you looked at it visually on a graph, it would go
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
right. If you converted that to sound, it would go. Eh.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it would do.
Yeah.
See, but if a spirit, like you say, a spirit speaks to you on a different level, you need to find out what level that spirit's on. Then you could guarantee
Yeah,
getting
that-
100%
if there's some way we can
EVPs.
measure
Because
that.
EVPs that you're getting,
We looked at
99.9%
a while back.
interfere.
We looked at something called Schumann resonance. I don't, if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they attribute that to a lot of insects and animal life and everything that rely on this frequency. And that living in cities, places with lots of cellular activity and all kinds of other radiation going on, kind of disrupts what they do. And they think that's why the bees are dying out.
While you're on this, I keep coming
But
back to
if sorry,
Another experiment I'll share with you that I think anybody can try, and I think would be a good one. When you talk about resonance, and it's been particularly about not so much the Schumann, but resonance of things you hear, you see.
yeah,
Now your
yeah.
eyes resonate approximately 8 hertz.
Okay,
NASA reckons it's 8.95.
okay.
The reason NASA do that is because a lot of the astronauts get a thing called infrasound. So, hearing hears from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz.
That's what we
The
call
things
that
that-
audible range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that's outside of that range is infrasound. So,
But it's there, we just
Yeah.
can't hear it.
now, okay, so the experiment now, if you can create an audio generator, a frequency generator, that can create 8.95 hertz. The theory is,
You can see sound.
you see things,
Yeah.
you know, like floaters, for the old people in the room like me. When you see floaters, you can induce floaters by creating a resonance of 8.95 hertz, audio,
Right.
according to NASA.
That's interesting. Do you think that maybe that's what I'm going to use a dreaded word now? Orbs are.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It wasn't recording. If you can see me but not the camera, yes.
Yes. Maybe but from a photography perspective, the camera sees everything. So, but we don't see it until we play it back a lot of the time.
We do see, but your brain is designed
Yeah, we
to
don't-
blank it
we
out.
don't
We can
register
actually
it.
see infrared, but your brain cancels out infrared because you don't actually need it. That's why when you buy an infrared camera, you see what you can actually see, but your brain cancels it out. So really don't waste your money on an infrared camera because really you don't need them.
We were saying the other night, like foxes that actually see in night vision. So,
Also, certain sound levels will actually make you hallucinate.
Yeah, especially with binaural stuff like whole digital dosing.
Be careful of that.
Gets back to the big question we keep being asked all the time, because it adds to the atmosphere. Why do you do paranormal investigations in the dark? We do them like this. It's just better for people to watch in the dark. It's more spooky. And why are horror films always filmed in the dark?
There's a big
If you've got a mad
psychological.
axe murderer in your kitchen, would you walk in the kitchen without turning the light on? But it adds to the drama when you think, turn the light on, you silly bitch. I'm a bloke and I wouldn't walk in the kitchen with the light on.
Lisa?
See, my personal response was about being in the dark. Is that you're more receptive?
You are.
Yeah, because your eyes, every other
obviously
sense.
you're
Yeah.
putting off your vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't
Um,
see what.
So you're hearing more.
And the reason why you do it at
Sensing
stupid
more.
o'clock is because most people are in bed. So
And there's less
most
noise,
sounds.
less contamination.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, it's the time that venues will actually allow you to walk in. Is it
Yeah.
nice?
Yeah,
Is it
well,
being
that does
built?
play. That's a big part.
But
Sometimes it's people's perception. I've got somebody has asked me about doing a read for them. And I said, yeah, I can do it you Thursday when you're off. Yeah, but you can't do it in the daytime, can you? It's got to be at night. That's how people's perceptions. I've now heard it all over the years.
This is why we do lights on and lights
Yeah.
off.
I've had that.
Have you had-
People, no, not that, not really, but people say to me, "But how can you see spirits in the light?" No one can see them in the light, the dark. It's just like looking at you.
Yeah.
But how? They automatically assume that
It's got to
because
be
we've
dark.
got to be in the dark,
Yeah.
or it's got to be somewhere spooky, or it's got
Yeah.
to be, you know, I've walked in the strangest of places and seen the most strangest of things that people, you know, if I tell them they put me in the local nut house because they think I'm bonkers.
Imagine my neighbours think I'm a vampire because they've never seen me in daylight.
That's actually my nickname for my kids to don't go out in the sun.
It's unfortunate, Hollywood's got a lot to answer to as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Hollywood's created such a, it's like, for instance, Hollywood, if you look at Vikings, Hollywood's made all Vikings now have horns on their helmets. Never in a million years. They were buried with horns, but never in the helmets, because it didn't make sense either fighting. And the helmets are very expensive, so most Vikings didn't even have a helmet.
And if you only had horns on your helmet, if you're important, that's why Odin is depicted having horns on his helmet, because he's the king of the gods.
Yeah, so Hollywood's got a lot to answer to. Come back to another subject I'd like to bring on, because this is another favourite of mine, very controversial. Ouija boards. Is it the devil's tool, or is it a tool?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's all. You do have
Yeah, we get so many, when we have guest members and they say, "Where's Ouija board?" First thing they say, 99% of the time we go, "We don't use one." We as a team just don't use one because we don't agree with it. You know, everybody's got
it's not that we don't agree with
We
it.
don't agree with it. But
They've got a stigma to me. If you want to play with a Ouija board, and I don't want anyone to take offence with this, if you want to go Ouija board, go Toys R Us, buy one and play in your front room. There are other things you can do with that Ouija
people have
board.
got this, you know, we've had no end of people email us in the group and we say, "I've got a real load of crap going on in my house and all sorts are happening and pots and pans are flying and lights," and you go, first he says, "Used a Ouija board?" "Well, not recently, but yeah, about 5 years ago." "Right. Did you open it and close it properly?" "No." "There's your answer then."
It's not
And
the
people-
Ouija board that's
and-
the issue, is it?
No, it's not.
It's-
It's the,
They
it's
don't
the
know what they're
stupid-
doing with it.
It's the mentality of people that are
It's the
using it.
intent, it's to-
And they don't, you know, yeah, I'm not against using one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got
Have
to
you
respect
used
what you're doing.
They
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's why, the reason why we won't buy a Ouija board, if somebody watches our videos, and you'll never see one on any of our videos, if somebody watches one of our videos and they see a Ouija board, they're going to go out and buy one. And we don't want to encourage that.
And all
Because
they
for that
see-
reason, they don't know shit.
They see the bit, you know, is any spirit there, you know, the planchette or glass, whatever you use it. They don't see the beginning bit and the end bit where you open it up properly, you close it properly. And then that's when everything obviously kicks off because they've got all sorts. And like I've tried to say to people, it's like picking up a phone unless you've got caller ID. You don't know what's coming through. It could be a spirit that's masking itself as something dynamic or
Does
something.
that not make us responsible for those that go out and do it?
That's
without
why.
opening
That's
and
why I
closing
won't.
it?
I've never, as you guys know, when you came in the group, I won't touch a Ouija board with
Yeah.
a barge pole
Oh, wait.
because people can see them and go and buy one and play, and I don't encourage it at all.
I feel that
There's
people are
nothing wrong with
responsible
them.
for their own actions. We are responsible for what we do. What I was going to say was, you said just now, it's just like any circle. Has anybody here ever practiced paganism, Wicca, magic? Put your hand up.
I used to have a magic set when I was
Yeah?
6.
Okay, fair enough. No, well, fair enough. in any kind of ritual practice, right, what you do is you open a sacred space where you conduct what you're conducting. It could be anything. It could be healing somebody, opening a doorway to another universe, or just planting a seed, right, and making it important to your work. You do what you've got to do, and then you ritually close it again, right? How you open it and close it is determined to your faith or your connection.
Your personality.
Yes,
and what it
exactly,
is.
because then it becomes yours.
Yeah.
It's it becomes more potent, and you manifest something in this reality. When we're communicating with spirits, mediums have this view that you open it with a prayer, you ask spirit to come in to guide you, to protect you.
I know.
Well, fair enough.
As in a prayer, I do not say,
No,
"Dear God, and amen."
no. I'm just giving an
Yeah.
example, right? And then you close it with respect to whatever you've communicated with. You thank whatever it was for the protection. You go away again, right? More often than not, even if you don't believe in whatever it is that's the person that's opened it, it's this. It's like, well, this person's obviously they know what they're doing. They have confidence. So to a certain extent, there's this psychic barrier for them. So to a certain extent, they're protected. It's closed by whoever opens it, and then they go away. And then most of the time, the connection to whatever it is you're communicating with is severed. How I feel that when people play with any kind of form of divination, it doesn't have to be a Ouija board, it doesn't have to be ghost divination, it doesn't have to be a pendulum or a set of dowsing rods or anything. They open it without knowing it. They go, is anybody there? There's nothing beforehand, right? It goes nuts, stuff happens in the room, they all get scared, they run off. They don't go near it again, right? They come back in the room, chairs are on the tables, like everything's turned upside down. Oh shit, what's going on? Because, for example, they didn't know the beginning steps. They didn't know the ending steps. They're closing I will say that any opening or closing ritual doesn't matter what you say, right? But what you say goes.
Yeah.
I will say that the opening and closing is the rules.
What would happen though? Like, say for me, for instance, which, to be fair, again, nothing against yourself.
No.
I don't disagree. Opening or closing something. Well, like you said, you just said there, you're opening something you don't know. Well, the old paranormal to us, me, I don't know.
I agree.
I'm not going to take one part of a subject and say, oh, I'm going to have to know that bit. Because I would never know.
No.
Now, if I was to say, use a prayer or something like that, but didn't actually mean it, just for the sake of doing it, would that still hold the same effect?
No. I feel that whatever you do, you have to believe. Just like any kind of psychic or spiritual protection, if you believe in, it could be a Jedi, right? It could be a statue in the corner that protects you or whatever. If you have enough emphatic belief that that will protect you, it will protect you.
So if I didn't believe, could I never touch an Ouija board again? Is that what you're saying? I'm not entitled to touch that Ouija board?
I'm not saying there's any entitlement or ownership of what you're doing.
I'm doing wrong though. I'm doing wrong now.
And I'm not necessarily saying it's wrong, right? But what I am saying is that if you're not prepared to accept the consequences of what you're doing, you have to know what the consequences are.
Which I think that's the same as everything when you
No,
go
I
into a
agree.
building. There's going to be consequences. Well, you hope there is in some way, shape or form.
This element of responsibility.
Also, with the Ouija board, you ascertain there that every time somebody uses it, something will happen.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily. Craig could go on as skeptic.
Nothing
Say-
will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can be moving around or
But-
So just go back to
loads of
what
people
Hans
do
was
that. Sorry?
I said we all interrupted each other.
Shut up now, you were interrupting. Shut up.
Just put all hands up again, we can just do it so people get a say.
I think as well though, I don't know how the other mediums work, but when you sort of train in mediumship, you can normally differentiate when you're on, say, glass divination, whatever, what actual spirit is coming through.
Yeah.
We know if it's a nasty entity coming through that's masking itself as a good entity, so we go through a series of questions, like the power of 3 and this, that and the other. So I think for somebody that, like I say, not being nasty, but trained in mediumship or as sensitive, you can normally ascertain what is coming through on the Ouija board or on the glass.
Or we're actually bringing it through as well.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
But we can
helping you more than
we can all as well block it off if it's a negative energy and let the...
You know what I mean, as you were pulling the energy, the spirit through. I mean, my nieces and nephews could sit on one and you start spelling out names and things, but because they're not knowing what to pull through or how to do it, it won't attract.
Okay, can we just, Andy?
When you're opening and closing a session, it doesn't have to be irreligious
Yeah.
on what you were
That's
saying,
what I was
because
trying to say.
I'm an atheist. I don't believe in anything to do with the Bible, full stop. That's my belief. But when we do opening and closing sessions, like if you go to a funeral,
Yeah.
you've got to say prayers and so on.
Alright.
To me, it's a way of opening the door to the Spirit and saying, come in. Then when you close at the end, you are bidding them farewell, go back where you've come from. We don't want anything else to do with you. When people let them in, they don't know when to go.
But you're also
If you're sitting in your living room and you've got friends round and you go to bed, they feel uncomfortable after 5 or 6 minutes and think, are they trying to tell us to leave?
Yeah,
That's what you're doing with a
yeah.
ghost, in my
The
opinion,
ritual,
when you
as
invite
in-
them in but don't tell them to leave.
To actually, I was actually went to church school, and it was a ritual that you go up every Tuesday, get your communion, get your bread, get your slip of wine. You'd just repeat prayers, hymns, whatever, because you learned it parrot fashion. You
Yeah.
don't have to believe in it.
Yeah.
So now, because of my beliefs, if I go to a church and the lift up falling on me, and I won't actually sing any hymns, and the husband won't because he's totally atheist, I won't, because I do not believe that people should be controlled that much.
Because you've had to conform to it.
Yeah, I don't believe in the conformity that you have to go to church or mass, whatever it is, every Sunday. You have to go out on a Tuesday with a black bag over your arm and knock on people's doors and annoy them. But they have to do it because they're told to.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that anybody should tell people, you will do this, you will do
No,
that.
sorry.
On David?
Go on, I'm happy to say that, so.
Yeah, put it away.
I go to a spiritualist church and I consider myself a spiritualist. However, I totally agree with you, the biggest pollutant in all of this is dogma.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I hate religious dogma, and even in my church, I criticise, and this is why I'm called a skeptic, all the amount of religious dogma that's even in spiritualism. And they're in denial.
Yeah.
If you question them and say this, and I do, and I say, well, if you've got no fixed creed or dogma, why have you got the 7 principles? Why do you say the Lord's Prayer? Why do you talk about Jesus singing hymns?
Yeah.
You know, oh, why are you asking those questions?
I
I
think
was just
it-
asking because you supposedly...
I
You
think-
like the outcast then?
No, yeah, I think it's perfectly acceptable to ask those questions. Part and parcel of leading me to mediumship was to question what was going on in my life, what was happening to me. And so I went away and I found out and I learned, and there we go. And
Yeah.
years later, I'm
It's
down.
like some people-
I'm not saying that,
Yeah,
that
some people
there is.
actually believe that you've got to go to a certain
No,
building and things like that.
No.
Why does that make everybody any better?
it doesn't. It doesn't. Sorry, Liz. What I believe is that you are the master of your own universe, and you take that as your own responsibility. And whether you adopt a dogma or don't is entirely up to you. What I'm saying is that there is no set way of opening or closing anything. But what I am saying is that when you open, what I think should happen is you believe what you're saying when you open it, and B, you believe what you're saying when you close it. Because 9 times out of 10, whatever was communicating with you will pick up on that affirmative that you have and take the hint and bugger off.
Yeah, just say please and thank you.
Yeah, of course,
Very
yeah.
short
Yeah, of
and-
course, yeah, of course.
I think everybody finds their own way of doing
Yeah.
it. I come into, like, you know, your journey into mediumship is probably completely different to mine,
Yeah.
as Matt's, as Lisa's, as everybody
Yeah.
else's. And I think it's that happy medium that everybody finds their own
Yeah.
channel
And
and
not
their
just
own way of
somebody
doing
tells you
it,
to.
and their own
I
self-belief,
agree, yeah.
and their own...
It's
as long
like
as you
getting...
believe in yourself
Yeah.
and your
It's-
own belief, then...
Yeah, just when you have to say private fashion.
You know when you open and you close, I can honestly say,
And the one true thing that I ever learned was that if it feels wrong, it
Yeah,
probably
it
is.
is every time.
I'm a big believer of gut instinct.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, for going back to the whole opening and closing, everybody has their different ideals. Believe in what you do. That's the key thing. Because as long as you have faith in what you're doing, that's fine.
Just another thought, it might not have even been a Ouija board, it could have been something totally
Yeah,
different.
it's-
This is what I was about to
His
say.
intent
You
was there to cause trouble.
For me, again, sceptical side of things, I don't knock anything, but I like to learn as well.
No, of
I don't
course,
know,
yeah.
you might be right, you might be wrong, I don't know. But you there go on, opening, believe it. Yeah, I understand that totally. Right, so you've got 4 people around the board, however one secretly doesn't believe it, does that destroy the whole circle? Or is it just that one person who needs to believe it?
In any circle, if it's broken, there is no circle, I believe.
Yeah, well, does that not where we start to vary now as a team, where suddenly you've got these unique people as a team, there's something bringing them together they all must believe in, where that to me is just very suggestive, that's very much...
No, of course
you
it
have
is,
to
you're
do
right.
it, and who wrote this rule book? And like Rich there, not knocking, I believe everything he says is how we felt and things, but if I was sitting there listening to the story and I'll say, just show me how it was on a Ouija board, what did that? Could you show, can you see what I'm saying?
No, I
It's
understand
an odd-
exactly what you're
It's
saying.
an odd scenario, because
No, it's very difficult.
it's like me, somebody like me, from an experimental point of view, I would sit round the table and call me callous, do whatever, but if it meant there was 3 people and all 4 people had to believe and I was the odd one out, I would secretly not believe. Because I can't believe something I don't believe, generally.
No, I
So
understand that.
that's a bit like saying if you're a non-believer and things like that, and I know it's a lot of from a sensitive and a medium's point of view, that's a bit like saying give up the game, because you're a non-believer, I can't actually go and do the experiments I want to do now, because I'm a non-believer. I'm scared now for my team that I don't believe in their safety, for instance. Are you with me? So it sets
No,
a worrying
get
point from that, am I doing wrong? I
I
want to believe, but you can't make yourself believe something.
No, you
what
can't.
Isn't there? That's
You
what
need
is.
belief relies on that affirmation of something happening in your life that makes you believe. That's at the core of it.
Yeah, I
I
totally
mean, it's
trust.
no
Until that
like-
happens, you won't
Like
believe.
when you do like your protection, like your workshops, you do your protection, you tell people to surround, the light, whatever you do, whether it's
Yeah.
walking down a corridor and opening a wardrobe and putting a coat on or whatever you do. It's like Matt was saying again, it's if you think, I don't know, a Transformer or Power Ranger
Yeah.
is your protection, as long as you believe that, then,
Yeah.
It's
you
like
know,
the placebo effect.
yeah.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
But is that?
It's a thought form you're generating.
So you're
It's a
actually
barrier
saying
between-
what it only exists in the red. It doesn't exist in theory.
What I'm saying is what exists in your head, if you give it enough will manifest itself in reality.
Yeah.
No, I believe that. No, I was talking like the subject was on the Ouija board and that.
Okay, fair
on
enough.
a lot of our investigations, I do stand off.
No, I get
not
it.
for this belief, but for the factors I let them go and do. Because I've done it a long time now. I've probably seen everything apart from my ultimate goal. And so you're coming up with these scenarios of you've got to believe it, open and closing, and I'm like, understandable, but every piece of equipment we use, then we must open and close it, every single one.
It's all
Because in a
depends
way,
how far-
Yeah.
you've now, in theory, you're putting the fear of God up somebody.
Or fear
You're
of
making them
something.
believe, you're telling them they must go out and believe in something to actually protect themselves. Now you've
I
actually you
understand.
played on a fear factor.
It could be a bit forceful. I understand entirely what you're saying.
Not from my point of view, I'm talking for somebody else who's maybe not been in it long, but is still very a non-believer,
Yeah.
you know?
What?
Someone else's point of view now, sorry. Sorry, what do you name?
Claire.
Claire's had her arm up for absolutely ages. You're next, Lisa, don't worry. Go on, Claire.
I'm going back to gentleman there. I am.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Just going back to the opening and closing, I feel like most people know as the Seekers we always open in prayer and we close in prayer. One, for our beliefs and protection, and two, I think it's respect. You're saying thank you to the spirits that have come
Yeah.
forward for all the
Without-
effort, the energy.
Yeah. I always say
that
that.
you've made.
Please and thank you.
Absolutely,
instead of
yeah.
that.
You know, it's a sign of respect. If not, if you don't believe, you still should show a sign of respect.
Yeah, because they've come through,
They've worked
they've
really
communicated
hard.
That's a good point,
with you.
Takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, it does take a lot of energy.
Also, you don't know what their beliefs were in life, so.
No.
Oh, of course. Sorry, Andy.
Just a quick question to probably Heather and Matt, because they're the only two mediums that are no disrespect to the others. when children are born, they reckon they're more susceptible to seeing spirits and ghosts because they've not got the crap in their head that we have in older life.
Yeah, naturally more.
Could Claire, because it was stupid o'clock in the morning, it's probably one of the longest investigations we've done for a while, it was like 6:20 in the morning, we've been there since about 7 p.m. Was it because basically her head's empty of everything that's gone on, she's tired. Could they have come through that way?
Because
Like we all say,
imagination.
kids can become mediums when they're first born, and they forget how to use it when you start getting a mortgage and you have children of your own. You lose the ability.
Normally, not that you forget, or if you've got it strong, like some you might have, it's you sometimes look at it a bit weird.
Yeah.
Because
But
my
could,
imaginary
could
friend-
Claire have been run down enough that she opened that
Yeah,
put in,
yeah.
and that's what she was experiencing for a short period of time? You'd opened as a medium and you didn't know how to deal with it. That's my theory.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good.
Just quickly, I've got this with my daughter at the moment. She's nearly 11 now, and she's ridiculed at school because obviously what I do.
Yeah.
And like I've said to her, it's no different than someone going to the gym, playing cricket, playing the guitar. It's something I do. She's been ridiculed at school now, so she's actually reining it in. But she is very, very, right from 4,
Yeah.
when we first moved into our house,
Yeah.
she was communicating with the spirit child. Information came through that very odd names,
Yeah.
and we did a house history on the house
Yeah.
through the deeds, and all the information that she came through with actually has been verified through parish records. But now she's actually reverting into herself
Helping my house.
because she's frightened of what people are saying to her.
I'm probably about 14, 15.
So yeah, but
So she won't lose it.
no.
It'll just
Well, I've
stay
told her that. I've
inside.
said just embrace it.
Yeah.
Okay, what we'll do now is just close this down. David, just close this down. We'll come back to you because let the people get a final drinks. It's 10:30. Maybe want to shoot off a bit. So we'll just close this down literally 5-10 minutes, get a drink, and then we'll carry on. David, you'll be the first one back.